production of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And Cardinals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Beautiful fall evening is upon us here in St. Louis. Temperature is dropped, big crowd expected. It's photo day here at the ballpark, and it's game number 3, the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Jim Hayes is here. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. And Ricky, the Cardinals turn to 35-year-old Adam Wainwright tonight.
A lot of good things you could say about Adam Wainwright. Certainly he's had terrific ball games. Last time out against Milwaukee, he was dominant. But one thing you would say about him as well is his consistency. He joined some other big-name Cardinals with seasons of 10 or more wins. He's done it 8 times. Wainwright has been very, very good and durable.
That's a look at your Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. Chase Anderson gets the call for the Milwaukee Brewers. Wainwright, Anderson, Cardinals, Brewers. First pitch is coming up. Have to have contributions from all over your roster. Every month, someone has stood out, and it's always been a different face. The first month, a couple of newcomers, Aledmys Diaz and Jeremy Hazelbaker. Turn the page, say hello to May, and the veterans stood out. Matt Holliday and Matt Carpenter combined 36 RBIs. In June, the young gun, Carlos Martinez, 5 starts and a 1.31 ERA. Summer heats up in July, and so did the veteran. Tonight's starter, Adam Wainwright. He went 3-0, 1.77 ERA. In August for the St. Louis Cardinals, the power stood out of Brandon Moss and Jed Jerko, a combined 14 home runs. Old reliable here in September, Yadier Molina. Will it be enough to lead them to postseason play? We're about 3 weeks away from finding out. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. By Chevrolet. Visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealer for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Live look at Adam Wainwright sprinting out of the Cardinals dugout, getting ready for this start tonight. It is a perfect, and I mean perfect, night for baseball. 75 degrees. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is here. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. A look at the Brewers lineup. Switch hitting. Jonathan VR leads it off. He's now hitting .298. Scooter Gennett, Ryan Braun, Hernan Perez, Domingo Santana, Keon Broxton, Orlando Arcia, Andrew Susac, and the pitcher batting ninth, that's Chase Anderson. On the mound for the Cardinals, they'll turn it over to big number 50, Adam Wainwright.
Adam's been very good his last 2 times out. The Cardinals are hoping to build on a nice win here yesterday against a Brewers club, Dan, that is 6-2 in the month of September. So they are playing for jobs for next year. There's a lot of competition, a lot of good players at their AAA level. They are playing loose and easy right now. The Cardinals are going to have to play their best to beat them.
It's been a breakout season for Jonathan VR. second in steals in the National League with 53. He's ninth in doubles. And with those steals, he's one away from tying Pat Listash for third single season all-time in Brewers history. All-time leader was Tommy Harper, 73. Scott Pisednik had 70. There's a look at Craig Counsell and Mike Matheny. Notice that back slap from Mike Matheny not nearly as hard as last night, as Phil just about landed in the clubhouse. So here we go. First pitch from Wainwright. Taken high for a ball.
One thing we've seen with Wainwright in the last couple of starts is a higher use of his fastball. Early in the season, he was getting hurt with his curveball of all pitches. Started throwing more fastball, getting more outs, just like that.
Ground ball hit to Jed Jerko, one away. The Hyundai pitch arsenal. Fastball is up. Now it's about 42% of the time. Cutter, the curve, and the change. Here's Scooter Gennett. He has a home run in this series. Overall, 262, 11 homers. He's driven in 45. The second baseman tonight for Milwaukee.
You mentioned the way Adam ran out onto the mound. He was running very quickly and looked like a man on a mission, but that's how he's been pitching. A little more energy, a little more of the bulldog Wainwright that we've seen in the past. Even the way he stands on the mound, he's got that cap pulled down a little more, leering in.
Ground ball hit to the right side. Colton Wong, two away. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. Brandon Moss, Randall Grichuk, Stephen Piscotty, that trio in the outfield. Peralta, Jerko, Wong, and Carpenter on the infield. And Molina is behind the plate. Adam Wainwright is coming off of 5 innings on Monday against the Pirates. 4 runs on 7 hits. Cardinals had built up a pretty sizable lead, so Wainwright was taken out early in that game. Braun lines it into right, and a sliding catch by Piscotty. Half inning in the books. No score. The Gene Segura deal. Segura's had a fine season with Arizona this year. Anderson, for his career, is 1 game below the 500 mark at 23-24 this year. Overall record stands at 8-11. Matt Carpenter will lead it off, followed by Colton Wong and Stephen Piscotty. Then Brandon Moss, Yadier Molina, Jed Jerko, Johnny Peralta, Randall Grichuk, and the pitcher batting ninth, Adam Wainwright. Numbers on Anderson this season. He's 4-1 with an ERA of 2.65 in his last 8 starts.
I think Matt Carpenter said to the home plate umpire, you know, I've got a good eye. And then he said something to the catcher. Do you think he said, hey, let me know what's coming?
I don't think either one of those statements came out.
I'm just guessing.
More and more, you do see the players first time they come to the dish.
Nice greeting.
Yeah, a little tap to the catcher on his shin guard. Pleasantries potentially for the home plate umpire.
I do think it's meant to be a sign of respect.
Absolutely. Carpenter 3 hits in this series. One thing the Cardinals do, they hit a ton of home runs. Carpenter, a 2-run shot last night, and this pitcher gives up a bunch of home runs. Here's a 2-0. The 2-1.
Anderson has had just 5 games, Dan, where he's worked into the 6th inning. So expect him to be 5-inning max. In fact, he's averaging less than 5 innings. The only starter in the National League to average less than 5 innings per start. Not an overpowering guy at all. He's a hittable guy. You mentioned the home runs.
There are 5 different pitchers right now in the National League that have allowed 25 or more home runs. Brandon Finnegan the most with 29. Max Scherzer 26. Anderson, Neese, and Straley all with 25. Hit the other way. Breaks his bat in a foul ball. You hear that list? Does it surprise you at all to hear Max Scherzer on that list?
It does. It does. Although there was a period of about a month where he really struggled. He was not pitching well at all, and he's gotten out of that funk. That's a dangerous team playoff wise.
The Nationals.
The Nationals.
So 3-2 the count on Carpenter. He's 6 for his last 18. Inside and a leadoff walk. Wainwright only threw 5 pitches in the top of the first, 7 in that bat alone with Carpenter. Hyundai pitch arsenal.
Fastball again. Nothing exciting about it. 90-91 changeup, and that's maybe his best pitch. The changeup will throw a curveball and a cutter, and he's really again very average pitcher. Which again, if you're an average big leaguer, that's not meant to be an insult. 2 years with the Diamondbacks, still a young guy, still developing in some ways. He's just 28, but he's a little short on stuff, but gets the best out of what he's got.
Wong with a fly ball into center. Keon Broxton makes the catch. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. Ryan Braun, Keon Broxton, Domingo Santana in the outfield. VR, Arcia, Gennett, and Perez on the infield. Andrew Susac, the former Giant, is behind the plate. Stephen Piscotty hitting .279 as you get a look at the numbers on console. Second season. This is his first full season, though, at the helm of Milwaukee. Short lead at first by Carpenter. It was an opposite field home run for Piscotty last night. His 21st this year. Anderson before the All-Star break had an ERA close to 6. Here in the second half, it's just above 3. So much better in the second half, despite the fact he's not going very deep into those games.
We'll say he's durable. He's answered the bell. This is his 27th start. Came over from Arizona in a trade that sent Gene Segura, a very promising player, good player, to the D-backs, who's having a terrific season. But the Brewers wanted to make room for Arcia anyway, their current shortstop.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Piscotty.
But the real player the Brewers got in that deal is probably going to be their minor league player of the year. He's in A-ball this year, so he's young. He's only 20. He's a shortstop. And his name is Isan Diaz, and had a big-time year, will be their player of the year. Eventually, their shortstop of the future beyond Arcia. They're going to have to find a place for him then, but Anderson was not the key part of that trade as far as the Brewers were concerned.
I was looking the other day. Depending on the publication, there are different results for 1 through 10 with prospects.
Right.
The Arizona Diamondbacks have traded 5 of their top 10 prospects, and a 6th is hurt, for a team that's had a horrific year. I'm not sure that they could have things go any worse than what's going on with them. 2-2.
And to have Zach Greinke have such an off year, they put a lot of eggs in that basket.
Shelby Miller.
Shelby Miller, another one.
Last night they played San Francisco for 5 hours and 23 minutes and lost at home. We'll see if Carpenter and the Cardinals want to do a little running here. Piscotty, more times than not, will put the ball in play. There he goes, 3-2. And he yanks it down the left field line. Out of play. Big crowd on this Saturday night. A gorgeous evening for baseball. Glad that you're with us here on Fox Sports Midwest.
Only thing better than September baseball is October baseball. Although I actually like April baseball too, because it's been gone for a while. But September has that buzz, cooler temperatures you mentioned. It just has a unique feel to it.
Sure does. There goes Carpenter, swung on and missed, throw down to second, and it's a double play. Poor jump by Carpenter. Strikeout of Piscotty, and it turns out to be a double play. No score. Hayes, Jim.
Dan, Aledmys Diaz had been rehabbing with the Springfield Cardinals. Their season came to an end today with a loss in the playoffs. John Mozeliak told me that they expect Diaz to be back with the Cardinals tomorrow. They'll work him out in the morning and proceed from there. Mozeliak says they got good reports on Aledmys, but they just want to make sure he's ready to go. Mozeliak says he wishes Aledmys had more time to rehab to help him get his timing. Trevor Rosenthal threw to hitters today. He said at game speed Rosenthal has been on the DL with a shoulder issue, but he told me after he threw he felt great and believes he could be back with the Cardinals within a week. He said they'll check him out tomorrow to make sure he recovered okay. Mike Matheny watched Trevor very closely and says the ball really jumped out of his hand. Now, Matt Holliday is now hitting soft toss and taking ground balls at first base. John Mozeliak said Holiday has no issues with throwing or catching. Now they'll ramp up the hitting, and they'll see how that thumb responds. Meantime, Michael Wacha set to throw to hitters on Monday. John Mozeliak optimistic that Wacha will be able to join the bullpen at some point soon, Dan.
All right, Jimmy, thank you. Rick and I were watching your interview with John Mozeliak, and we both commented on the laundry list of injuries to get to.
A lot of questions that Jim had to ask, but I would say a lot of good news from John Mozeliak about the recovery, and I think he was also very, I guess you would say, he's realistic, not idealistic, about the fact that he'd like to see more at-bats from Aledmys Diaz. He'd like to see Holiday be on a rehab, but there's no teams playing right now. You just can't do it. So it's a hard thing to do. And I think what Jim also talked with Mo about was Michael Wacha. Right now, it would be a fit for the bullpen, not as a starter. Again, if you had rehab places for him to stretch out, maybe a different story.
Domingo Santana at the plate following the base hit by Perez. A count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Santana was acquired in the Carlos Gomez deal. That's hit out of play. Rick, as we do and fans do, you know, the players and Mike Matheny and John Mozeliak, they'll tell you we're worried about the now. We're worried about tonight. Win this game. Worry about the next pitch. But we are allowed to look ahead a little bit, and that's part of our jobs.
Yeah.
You know, if you get a Rosenthal back to the form that he was, if it was truly the injury that was causing the issues, same with Wacha, it changes the complexion of your bullpen completely.
And that's an area that needs a little help right now, a little bolstering. And not that there aren't good pieces there, but you know, you add more pieces, that's going to make you stronger and make you stronger on a day-to-day basis. And if you're in a pennant race, you don't want to say, well, we'll use our best guys on a Monday and then we'll go to the plan B on Tuesday and back. You want to have as many weapons every single day as possible that are pitching well, especially in September.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Big gap in left center and a strikeout of Santana. First of the night for Adam Wainwright.
We talked about him using the fastball more. The pinpoint control of that fastball, well placed outside corner, clearly the place they're shooting for Santana.
In steps Keon Broxton, good-looking young player that the Brewers have. They do believe at some point he's going to hit for power. And when I say power, 15 to 20 home runs, but the ability to steal bases too.
22 for 24 stealing bases.
And now a base hit to left.
And I found out today that the 2 times he was caught, he was safe and slid past the bag. So he really is 24 for 24.
He must have been hanging out with Peter Borges.
Well, when you're going that fast, sometimes it's hard to get the parachute out.
Orlando Arcia, after a very slow start to begin his big league career, he's picked it up. Last 16 games, he's hitting .358. Curveball came out of his shoes for strike 1.
He's done a nice job of going the other way, but he didn't really center that one at all. Good downward break and moving away from Arcia. We've seen him hit the ball to right field really well. He's got good power too.
0-1 pitch. Just missed. Carlos Torres is the home plate umpire. Rob Drake at first. Jerry Davis, the crew chief, at second. Todd Titchener down at third. One is hit sharply to second. Wong, Jerko, Carpenter, double play. 4-6-3. Any size drink is just 50 cents the next day. Coffee fountain, frozen drinks, when they score, you pour. At your nearest on the run, you earned it. We're watching the Cardinals' second baseman. Seems like growing by the minute with confidence as this season comes to a close.
He's developing, maybe redeveloping. I think he was very good defensively a year ago, and then I think he just got into a bit of a funk early this season, and I think that affected his hitting. I'm not sure which came first, but Colton Wong has been spectacular defensively. Play he made up the middle last night's as good an infield play as I've seen the Cardinals make all season long.
Agreed. And he had 2 catches on the road trip that I don't think any other player on this roster makes.
The catch he made at Pittsburgh, that may be a top 10 play this year that I've seen. Maybe top 5. Considering how much range he had to show to make that play. Here's a guy the Cardinals need to get going again. Moss. Dan just 1 for his last 28. I love those power numbers when he's feeling it.
And a changeup gets him. Back-to-back strikeouts for Anderson as he got Piscotty to end the first, and now Moss to start the second. The most popular way to follow the Cardinals postseason push is with MLB.com at bat. #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Get MLB.com at bat on your favorite devices now. Ball 1 to Yadier Molina.
We mentioned Anderson is just a 5-inning pitcher usually, but I'm not too worried about the Brewers finding some innings in their bullpen. I looking down at their bullpen right now. They've got 13 guys. So if this game goes 40 innings, I think they're covered.
With 12 right-handers and 1 lefty.
And a number of them are former starters that can go multiple innings. So we could be here forever. They're fine.
40 innings, they're covered. You never know.
I'm leaving the last 20 to you if that happens.
I'm sure you would. Molina is swinging a miss as he strikes out. That's the 3rd strikeout for Chase Anderson. In steps Jed Jerko, hitting .243 with 26 home runs. And he has driven in 51. Outfield is straight away and deep, and the 1-0 pitch.
Now we talked about Anderson in Milwaukee. The pitcher today has a unique thing that he does before every home start. His late father passed away. He wears an outfit that his father had, including socks, cowboy boots, belt buckle, jeans, and a polo shirt that belonged to his father. He's done that every day where he's started at home since 2012 in honor of his father. That's pretty special. Very mission-minded guy, humanitarian. Brewers talk about how solid a citizen he is.
Out in front, Jerko grounded to short. ARCIA and safe.
Guess this would be ruled an infield hit despite the errant throw. May have been safe anyway. Jerko hustling down the line. Looks like that ball hit the left arm of Jerko, but worth the hit.
They're on the top of the second. The Mets have a 2-1 lead over Atlanta. San Francisco and Arizona coming up later tonight. In this series, the Cardinals picked up 3 2/3 from their starter Jaime Garcia last night. Carlos Martinez, 7 innings, picking up his 14th victory. And tonight it's Adam Wainwright.
You know, I have this feeling about September baseball, Dan, that somebody's going to make a run. I don't know if it's the Cardinals or the Giants or the Mets. I think the Mets, schedule-wise, have the best opportunity to do that. But I think you get to this spot in the season, you can't be worried about or hoping that somebody else is going to beat the team in front of you. You just got to win every day. And I know that's what players will say, and it sounds trite, but I think it's really true in September.
Out to right. Santana makes the catch on the track. Cardinals strand a runner. They pick up their first hit off the bat of Jerko. No score. On Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. And by your local Volkswagen dealer. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you here in the booth. Jim Hayes is here as well. And there's no score. Andrew Susac, Chase Anderson, and Jonathan Villar for Milwaukee here in the top of inning number 3. So Susac 0 for 1 now with the Brewers. He's played in the major leagues. He was with San Francisco prior to this year. Played in 87 games with the Giants. Hits a fly ball out to left center. Randall Grichuk is there for the out.
Danny, a good point to look at our key to the game, brought to you by Toyota. Adam Wainwright, did he find the fountain of youth on his 35th birthday? 2 starts ago, he was 35 pitching against these Brewers, and he was outstanding in that game. Went 7 innings, gave up just 1 run, and got a win the next time out. And Wainwright, to me, has been different since that day. And we talked about the bulldog stance on the mound. He's a little wider. He's a little more menacing looking, if I could say that, leaning in towards the plate. And I just think he has this attitude right now of I'm just going to overpower you. And we saw better velocity from Wainwright in those 2 starts, touching 94 at times.
0-2 the count. That caught Yadier Molina. So the umpire and Wainwright giving him a chance to catch his breath. Wainwright wearing that uniform, the classic style. I love these Saturday uniforms the Cardinals have here at home.
And many people love the Sox. I love the way it looks. I hated the way it felt. That's all I can say. I mean, it looks good. It looks old school, but it's just uncomfortable.
Good breaking ball. Strikeout number 2.
Vintage Wainwright curveball. Finds its spot.
VR grounded out to short. First time up. Wainwright makes sure his defense is in position, and here we go. The wild card currently, San Francisco, half-game lead over the Mets. The Mets, half-game lead over St. Louis. New York, 9 games above 500 for the first time since July 7th. We've talked about it. New York on paper with the easiest schedule remaining in baseball. This time next week, we're in San Francisco for that all-important 4-game series against the Giants.
And if this time next week Pittsburgh and Miami are still 5 or more games out, then it's going to be a 3-team race by that point, in my mind. Not that it couldn't happen, but too hard to chase multiple teams in front of you when you're running out of time. 22 games left for the Cardinals, 12 at home, 10 on the road.
2-2 the count. 4 games in San Francisco, 3 with Colorado, off day, then 3 with Chicago. And the Cardinals come back home to wrap up the schedule. That'll put the wraps on a regular season here in 2016. The 2-2.
Starting to think that VR really is the guy that drives this offense. He's having a big year. You've talked about it, but I think you get him out, you can beat the Brewers. I think he's driving their offense with his speed and his power.
Curveball hit sharply to the right side. There he is again. Colton Wong. He has been everywhere defensively the last couple of nights. Another dandy from number 16. Howes took to the mound for the ceremonial first pitch. That is just part of the story. Operation Finally Home and Hibbs Homes are building a home for this former Army specialist who was severely wounded when an IED struck his vehicle. Killed 2 soldiers, leaving Howes with leg injuries and other challenges, and they surprised him with a brand new home. It was an unbelievable moment here at the ballpark.
Incredible moment. Operation Finally Home and Hibbs Homes coming together to provide that home for that family. Unbelievable, and really just the moment here at the ballpark, Dan, the crowd that was here, and just incredibly moving, and certainly they were grateful. And we also had an induction ceremony for armed services right after that, and just a really terrific ceremony.
It's Military Appreciation Night here at the ballpark. Howes grew up in St. Louis. He had been hoping to come to a Cardinal game, and he got to go to the game throughout the first pitch, pick up a home. He's here with his wife and 3 boys. Great moment. 2-2 the count on Randal Grichuk. Randal riding an 8-game hitting streak, hitting .355 during these 8 games. The 2-2.
For folks that may be interested in the not-for-profit organization that looks for these opportunities for returning servicemen and women, OperationFinallyHome.org.
It's sharply to third, but right at VR. 1 away. You know, you were talking about this being one of your favorite times of the year. Me too. One that I love is spring training.
Yeah.
You know, not only because I miss baseball so much, and we've had a long winter and weather is nice down in Florida. That's all great, but seeing the young players that normally you don't get the chance to see in a regular season, and those players that you might see this year, like a Carson Kelly, Alex Reyes, Luke Weaver.
And folks that go to spring training love every minute of it because it's a much more intimate experience. The crowds are smaller, the venues are smaller, but you're happy to be where it's warm and the sun is shining and baseball's on again. And I know a number of people, and I'm actually one of them, when we have off time there, like to see the minor league games themselves, not just the big league games with the young players there, but go watch an A-ball game in AA and just love that feel of spring training and the optimism and the hope for some of those players.
2 balls and a strike on Adam Wainwright. 14 driven in on 10 hits this year. 9 of the 10 hits have gone for extra bases. Chops it towards third. Glove by VR, and he threw it away. Wainwright to second base, and a souvenir for someone in the crowd. Might be a base hit and an error.
Could be. Wainwright was hustling out of the box. VR was playing back. It's going to be his 27th error either way because Wainwright gets to second base, so they are giving it a hit and an error. Wainwright tops the ball, and you think, don't hurt your Achilles. Don't hurt your Achilles. I'm thinking that the whole way down the base. Very ginger the last couple of steps there for Wainwright. And he was rewarded with second base.
So as Rick mentioned, 27 errors for VR. A man in scoring position. It's a hit and an error for Wainwright. And here is Carpenter. Walked his first time up. Matt now with 71 walks on the year. And that's in the top 7 of the National League. Go along with those walks, a lot of hits. That means a high on base percentage. He came in at .390. Here's a 1-0. I'd have to say this is the nicest night we've had this year.
Not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful view. There's some nice views from around the stadium. I always recommend to folks here at the ballpark, sit somewhere different. Just walk around.
Pick off, and Wainwright is safe. And the Brewers will take a close look at that. So Randal Grichuk picked off by Martin Maldonado, the catcher. And he is back in safely.
Had to work pretty hard to be safe.
Well, 6'7" of Adam Wainwright extended to get back there. 2-0 the count on Carpenter.
Are you saying if he was Nick Punto, he was out?
He was out. We had a page yesterday of the shortest players the Cardinals have ever had in uniform.
And it was not Nick Punto.
Nope. In honor of Eddie Goodell.
Believe
his bobblehead.
Believe the player was 5'3". Played in the 20s or 30s, perhaps.
The shift is on for Carpenter. 2-1 pitch. Colton Wong is on deck. Matt hitting .273 with runners in scoring position. Carpenter with a high fly ball into right. Wainwright will tag. The catch is made. Here comes a throw. And Wainwright standing up safely at third with 2 outs.
Colton Wong is the Cardinals' second baseman the last couple of days, and wow, has he provided some excitement. This play up the middle, that's the play we were talking about. Maybe the best infield play we've seen all season long from the Cardinals on the backhand flip. And tonight he showed a lot of range, going to his left on the dive, and he has had a perfect mixture of athleticism and patience and ability, and it's all come together defensively for Wong. He's also been very good at the plate, good at bats, on base 3 times here last night.
So 2 outs, runner at third, and Wong out in front of that changeup for strike 1. Anderson making his 4th start against the Cardinals this year. Oh, 1 pitch. Now 0-2.
Anderson had 5 shutout innings in his last start against the Pirates. He won that game. Looks sharp again here tonight. Again, only going 5 innings.
Oh, 2 with 2 outs and a runner at third. Wong off the end of the bat. Hits it out to center. Broxton. Late break, but he makes the catch. Wainwright left stranded. We played 3. And there's no score. Wong making his presence known with his glove here recently. More on that. Let's check in with Jim.
Yeah, you guys talked about it. He's been getting on base, and he's made a number of game-changing defensive plays of late. I mean, really big defensive plays. Colton told me it's come with a change in attitude. He told me he stopped looking over his shoulder and he stopped worrying. He says he's just playing and having fun. He told me his new mindset, quote, frees you up to play. I'm not worried that this ground ball is going to take a bad hop. I know I'll adjust. He told me he tells himself, if I make an error, I'm not the first guy to make an error. He said he's not focused on what could go wrong. He's focused on being aggressive and, again, having fun. And, Dan, I know one thing. It's been a lot of fun watching him.
And you'd have to think, too, Jim and Rick, that the fact that he probably knows he's going to play more with his production going up, you relax. You're going to play every day.
Yeah, it's an interesting word to say relax as a big leaguer. People would say, well, wait a minute, you have to be intense. And are you talking about being intense or are you talking about relaxing? But it really is a combination of the two. You're relaxing as far as I'm not pressing. I'm not saying I've got to be something I'm not. You're comfortable with who you are. And that it frees you up to physically do the things that he's able to do. I think that's a maturity that he's gaining. That was a piece that he was missing, frankly.
Shallow center, the catch made by Jerko on a good play. Brings in Ryan Braun. Braun was robbed by Stephen Piscotty his first time up. He's now 0 for 5 in the series. Brewers have talked about down the stretch here, maybe every other day or 2 out of 3 games he'd play in. Remember, he had back surgery in the offseason. They want to make sure that he goes into this next year's offseason fully healthy. Only a .208 hitter in his career against Adam Wainwright.
He's still a threat, though. When he came up with the game on the line here last night, let's just say I was a little nervous.
I was with you. Here's a 1-0 pitch. 3 players right now lead the franchise in homers all time. Ryan Braun is one of them. Giancarlo Stanton, Evan Longoria. Brewers, though, have been around for a while. Miami and Tampa Bay expansion teams. Before his suspension, he was a .312 hitter in his career. Averaged a home run every 17 at bats. Since the suspension, hitting .285 and a home run every 21 at bats. And a strike at the knees, 3-1. A lot of talk around baseball. He would be with a different team at this time of the year. You think about Carlos Gomez now playing with Texas, along with Jonathan Lucroy, Jeremy Jeffress, Prince Fielder is gone. They've had some big names depart from Milwaukee here the last handful of years.
There was talk of the Dodgers getting him.
Yeah.
There were big rumors about that with Ryan Braun, and I'm not sure how that would have worked out contractually, but you know, he's certainly still a good player. He's going to hit around 300 every year. May not have the same power numbers, but still a good player.
There was talk after Puig cleared through waivers that the Brewers then would try to get a deal with Los Angeles. He has a limited no trade deal in his contract. He's from the West Coast, played at Miami in college. And he hits a fly ball to Randall Grichuk. 2 outs. Every weekday morning, boy, you want hot takes? Oh, man, you're going to get them. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp head to head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays, 8:30. Great way to get your day started right here and only on FS1.
Kind of like you and me.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Yep. A lot of hot takes.
Most of them off the air.
Perez backing up Piscotty. 10-pitch, 4th inning for Adam Wainwright.
Let the argument between Dan and Rick begin.
Available at McDonald's. We hope to have Rick back for the 5th inning. He's a tad bit emotional as the kiss cam during the break showed a couple and a marriage proposal.
Well, I can only handle but so much emotion. There's been a house given away to a veteran. There's been a proposal that was accepted. I get to do a big league game with you, Dan. I mean,
hot takes.
It's just unbelievable.
I want you to say it. Hot takes.
Hot takes. I said it.
Here's Stephen Piscotty, and the first pitch is a strike. Piscotty with a high fly ball, lifted out to left in the corner, and the catch is made by Braun.
Cardinals have had a couple of almosts in this game. Matt Carpenter drove one to right. Piscotty there to left, just not quite getting it on the screws. Here's a guy with the potential, but he has been very vulnerable of late to the changeup. That's the pitch that has given him the most trouble. He struck out on a changeup in the 2nd.
Brandon Moss struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning. It's a soft liner that's caught on a short hop by the shortstop Arcia, and Moss is 0 for 2. 2 quick outs, and it brings in Yadier Molina. Molina struck out swinging first time up.
Throw more emotion into it. It was photo day today. All kinds of things going on at the ballpark. All the players walked around. Fans had a chance to get photos close to the players, and that's always a special day. Players do a lap or two.
You were telling me that you used to call this Tito Landrum Day.
Actually, I still do, especially when Tito's around, because Tito loved photo day. Loved being around the cameras, loved signing autographs. Terrific with fans, better than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, he's number one. There are guys that are good with fans. Tito was number one, and Tito, by the way, may be in St. Louis today because he's going to be a part of Whitey Herzog's golf tournament on Monday and the dinner on Sunday night that I'll be emceeing, and Whitey's going to be honoring his unsung heroes, and Tito certainly one of them, the way he played in the World Series in 1985 when Vince Coleman got hurt.
You were telling me some of the numbers for Tito Landrum and doing some research on that just to refresh your memory, and you said they are Outstanding.
Hit .429 in the NLCS, hit .360 in the World Series. The traumatic event of Vince getting hurt by the tarp. Cardinals losing, of course, in that World Series, but the heroics of Tito Landrum may be remembered even more had the Cardinals won that World Series. He was terrific.
Is that not the most ridiculous injury ever? Tarp to Vince Coleman. 3-1 pitch.
Actually, the most ridiculous injury I've heard is the Brewers' second baseman, Scooter Gennett, got hurt on a soap dish. He cut his hand on a soap dish on the road in the shower and missed a few weeks. That's kind of ridiculous, too.
There's been some odd ones over the years, for sure. 3-2, and Molina strikes out. That's 4 for Anderson. We played 4. No score. BROXTON, ARCIA here in the 5th. You look at every team inside the Central Division, they all at some point over the last 8 to 10 years have had to rebuild. The Cardinals under John Mozeliak, it just hasn't been the case. The Cardinals, with exception to the Yankees, who have a slightly better regular season winning percentage over the last 8 years. Cardinals #2, Yankees #1. The Cardinals most postseason games played since Mo took over. He really has done an outstanding job. He said something that really surprised me the other day. He believes the farm system is as healthy and has the most talent that he's seen since he's been here. Now think about that with the players they've graduated to the big leagues. Wong, Adams, Craig, Piscotty, Carpenter. I mean, the list goes on, and he believes right now, and it may not happen next year, but year after that, these kids are coming, and it's a whole new wave of good talent.
I think they've risen to the high A, AA level.
Yeah.
And a year ago we were talking about it, and we said, well, the best players are probably in low A at this point. I'm not talking about, you know, that's all of them. Certainly Luke Weaver was coming, and Reyes and others, but a high number of players at low A, back to 2 championships at the rookie level, and the AA team being in the playoffs, I think, are a testament to that.
Some of the picks since 2008. John has run the farm system and has run a draft before, and now basically overseeing all that. But They're the picks since he took over. Some pretty big names on that list. Then you think of the international free agent signings, and a big one comes to mind by the name of Alex Reyes. Carlos Martinez.
I think Sun Wano was a pretty good
there you go.
signing.
That's well hit into left center off the bat of BROXTON and gone. BROXTON 2 for 2, and it's 1-0 Milwaukee.
Just thinking how few games we've seen since the All-Star break where there was no score through 4 innings. In fact, I look back, I believe there's only been 2 in the second half that have been 0-0 after 4. And so this has certainly been a tight game, and one swing of the bat can change it. And BROXTON certainly did. Showing that he's more than just good speed.
Hit out of play off the bat of ARCIA.
BROXTON's been hitting over 300 since his recall from the minor leagues in July, and he's one of those guys fighting for a job because the guy they got in AAA from Texas's top prospect is a center fielder, and they didn't put him on the roster. He's still young. They didn't need to, but next year Lewis Brinson is his name. He's going to be a big time player. So BROXTON fighting for a job even though Brinson's not even here.
You mentioned it last night. I found it very interesting, the fact that Milwaukee, where teams are always talking about power, looking for power, lack of power in the game. That has not been the case obviously this year for the Cardinals, but their premise has been, yeah, we'll take power, but let's look for some speed too.
They've got it at every level. They have center fielders at the AAA, AA, and A-ball level that are all top prospects that can fly. Just an organizational philosophy at this point.
Greg Counsell was working in the front office for Milwaukee, did some work for the Players Association as well, and now the manager for his hometown team. The 2-2 pitch, good cutter, and strikeout number 3. Check that, 4 and 2 in the inning for Adam Wainwright.
Wainwright very sharp here in this game. Location's been good on all pitches. A home run aside, it's been a good outing for him.
Here's Andrew Susac, who flied to center first time up. 0 for 1 tonight. Here's an 0-1 pitch. This defense, it almost looks like the traditional way that we've seen baseball play. No shifts, straight up in the outfield.
Abner Doubleday said, you go there, you go there, you go there. And how about you 4 guys just spread out on this thing? We'll call it a diamond.
And a fly ball out to left, Brandon Moss.
And it was Alexander Cartwright, not Abner Doubleday.
I got it.
Just to be clear.
Home run by BROXTON, 1-0 Brewers. Entering with a ticket, receive a growth poster featuring Stephen Piscotty, courtesy of Missouri Farmers Care. Stay in your seats after the game. It's a fireworks display presented by Cooper Tires. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Just to finish up that idea of what John Mozeliak has been able to build since he was named the GM in 2008. Regular season wins, second best in Major League Baseball, first in postseason games, second in postseason wins, first in run differential. Pretty impressive. BJC Healthcare difference maker.
And I guess John Mozeliak is embarrassed by the attention because he's leaving the shot. But there's Michael Gersh at the bottom level, John Vooch at the top, Randy Flores entering the picture, who's now in charge of the draft. Those four communicate quite a bit. John Vooch has been a longtime Cardinal employee, maybe longer than all of us here. And Randy's the newest, but very sharp. He was on that 2006 World Series team that we are celebrating this season, but now he's out thinking about World Series in the future for the Cardinals, and he's going to do a great job.
Randy there at the top right, John Vooch on the left, Michael Gersh there in the bottom. There's John Mozeliak in the background. Randy, I said, how often do you check box scores now of the minor leagues? He said, it's hard for me to go to sleep at night without looking at them, and then waking up in the morning taking a second look and trying to figure out what's happening with some of the kids that I've drafted. He said they're almost like your children.
Oh yeah.
You know, the interest that you have in hoping for their success. Carson Kelly obviously being one of those guys that was drafted recently and has made it to the big leagues. Randy, by the way, his bobblehead will be featured. Budweiser bobblehead night on Tuesday, our celebration of the 06 team.
So it's not just the guy that's picking you, but it's the scout that signs you. It's the coach in the minor leagues that helps develop a Carson Kelly. You just they do. They're your kids. You're interested in them, and you really follow them throughout their career. You feel a connection to them.
Here's a 2-2 pitch to Jerko. Randy told me a great story about 06, and of course we've talked about it. He won Game 7 of the NLCS facing Delgado, which was the main guy that he had to get out. I said, what was it like? What happened? He said, Marty Mason was the bullpen coach at the time. He said he hadn't spoken to Marty about strategy or about a situation the entire season. As Jerko hits it to short. He knows he's coming in. Marty Mason for the first time all year, Game 7, Shea Stadium, literally rocking his flow. You probably are going to give up a home run here, but that's okay. You're going to have a lot of days left of this. He said, now that's not the advice I wanted. I wanted to hear, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. But his point was, life will go on one way or another. Right. Enjoy the moment. It's a funny story. And
just to get him to relax, sometimes you have to face your fear.
Yeah, and that's what he said.
Yeah, and what's the worst thing that can happen here? Worst case scenario thinking, and then you kind of get out of the pressure of it and say, ah, you know what, I'll live. That was Bruce Suter's philosophy.
Sure. I would think in that position, or if you're a closer, or just a late innings pitcher, when the games are on the line in those high leverage situations, you have to take that approach.
It's the first thing I ever learned from Bruce Suter. He held his fingers about a quarter of an inch apart, and I've told this story before, but he said to pitch in the big leagues, and especially to be a closer, you have to be this far away from not caring what happens. He said, I've won before, I've lost before, I've lived both times. And those were words, I didn't write them down, but I remembered.
Oh yeah.
Didn't have to.
0-2 the count with one out. Johnny Peralta at the plate. Chase Anderson and the Brewers with a 1-0 lead. Carson Kelly writes everything down in his journal. That's pulled fair over the bag at third. Peralta on his way to second. He'll stop there.
Good move.
1-out single for the Cardinals third baseman. And it brings in Randal Grichuk, who grounded out to third his first time up. Trying to make it a 9-game hitting streak. Our Kubota power stats concerning the Cardinals center fielder. Highest slugging percentage in the National League since the All-Star break. Votto, Schiff, who did some damage against the Cardinals. Their second baseman of the Padres, Freddie Freeman, and Randal Grichuk fourth on that list.
19 of his last 29 hits have been for extra bases. That's how you get the slugging percentage up there. You get a lot of doubles and big flies. Certainly capable of giving the Cardinals a lead with one swing. Craig Counsell, I'm sure, is already thinking, where's my next move? Because he's seen it before with Chase Anderson. Nothing that he's indicating that he's laboring here. But it's just been his story this season. Pitch count's not really a problem. Wainwright, by the way, only 51 pitches through 5 innings.
As you mentioned, he's been sharp tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike. Short lead at first by Johnny Peralta. Big gap in left center. Outside, 2-1. The 2-1. Grichuk got it in just enough. Out at second, the turn, and out at first. It's a double play. We played 5. A KEON BROXTON home run, the difference so far. At the ballpark this Tuesday, September 13th. Head to Ford Plaza and you will meet adoptable furry friends. Get your tickets at Cardinals.com. See the side there of the bases, it has the date, and there is an authentic store out there in the Ford Plaza as well. So if something happens special and you're at the ballpark or wherever you may be and you want something from the game, you can go out to Cardinals Authentics and find that base right there if you'd like to take that home.
Now wait a minute, we've had somebody who was just given a house today, and we've had somebody who just asked his girlfriend to marry him and she said yes. I think they ought to go line up right now.
Right now. Ashley Brown, be happy to take your order at Cardinals Authentics.
Maybe we should give it to the guy who is the retired,
I agree,
serviceman.
You're the guy that just got engaged. Wants another thing to put him in debt.
Oh.
0-2.
Let him enjoy the
Chase
moment,
Hill.
Dan. I mean, at least for a bit. Oh my.
Wainwright has struck out 4. He's given up a home run. That was to KEON. BROXTON, his 7th. And that's the only scoring in this game. Not a lot of hits, 3 aside. Make it 5 strikeouts for Adam Wainwright. Speaking of the 06 team, October 1st, you could take home a World Series MVP David Eckstein bobblehead courtesy of Coca-Cola and Deerbergs. Also start planning ahead with your 2017 Cardinals Magnet schedule presented by Shelter Insurance. Last weekend of the regular season. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
It's been a well-played game, crisp game, well-pitched game.
I think you're onto something, Rick, with the fastball. Now that was the cutter at 87, but he's been throwing a tick or two harder.
He hasn't, and the curveball actually has gotten him in trouble more this year than in recent years. Gave up a lot of hits on it in the months that he struggled. And I think he's understanding better how to use that fastball more often. That pitch at 92, that's pretty typical Wainwright velocity when he's at his best.
Here's a 1-1.
He's really got an attack mode look. This is my game. Learned a long time ago you have to think of pitching as an offensive position. I'm in charge, not you. Here, hit this. Instead of, I'm going to throw it and hope something good happens. Now, Adam would not think that way, but you have to believe you are controlling things.
Dodgers Rich Hill perfect through 5 innings in Miami. Keep an eye on that game.
Wainwright's 250th start, by the way.
Right.
It's a nice milestone. Fastball in. Go get him.
Most starts in Cardinals history. Bob Gibson 482. Bob Forsch 401. The Cardinals Hall of Famer. Wainwright 5th all time. 3-2 pitch. It's a strikeout and a ball that gets away from Yadier Molina. And VR is 0 for 3 tonight. Exclusive list Adam Wainwright is a part of, now in the top 5 most career starts all time in Cardinals history. 250 here tonight.
He's climbing the ladder in a lot of records of all time Cardinal greats. Put the top 3 on that list are really the 3 best in most categories: Bob Forsch, Bob Gibson, and Jess Haynes. Those 3, pick a category, they're probably 1, 2, 3, but Wainwright is getting closer in many of those stats.
Breaking ball is tapped foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. Come to the ballpark here in St. Louis. You'll see the Gibson jerseys. Stan, Lou, Red, many of the current players, obviously. Ozzie. List goes on and on in the great history here in St. Louis. Jimmy ball game. The 2-1 popped up left side, and it's playable. Peralta over in foul territory, and he makes the catch in a 1-2-3 inning for Wainwright. Midway through 6, 1-0 Milwaukee. You find seats you love whenever you want. You can find the best seat for your buck when you sort by the best value. So get the StubHub app today. Brewers with a 1-0 lead. Just 3 hits aside, and here is Adam Wainwright. We're in the bottom of the 6th, and Wainwright looks at a pitch low. It was Carlos Martinez that got things going in game 2 last night. Maybe Wainwright could do that here this evening.
Carlos had a really good outing. He got down early but didn't give up. Stayed in it. Got the hit you mentioned, but also pitched well after that. Gave his team a chance. Only had 1 strikeout in that game. Not a typical Carlos Martinez game, but so what?
14 wins now.
You find a way to do it. I was really impressed with Carlos yesterday.
3-0 the count on Wainwright. I thought you made a great point when Molina went out to visit with Martinez, and the fact that you said at that time that that Molina was telling him, hey, stay in the game, get out of this little jam that you're in, and if you stay in a game, that gives us a chance.
And obviously I'm not clairvoyant enough, and we don't have a microphone, a secret microphone on the mound, so I don't know exactly what he was saying, but regardless of what he said it by going out there. And I think that was an important moment. It's the importance factor of having a Yadier Molina behind the plate. I mean, there are times I could frankly say there are some catchers I had in my career that when they came out to talk to me, I mean, I almost rather they wouldn't have. It's not like I just didn't understand or feel that they had something to offer at the time. But when you've got somebody that's got something to offer with their support, with their confidence in you, it just means a lot to a pitcher. And I know Yadi is that way with every Cardinal pitcher.
Wears it on his sleeve, the importance of his guy on the mound, what it means to them and what it means to him as well. There's Torres getting loose, the former Met.
First guy I ever saw did that well was a guy named Tom Nieto, who you may remember.
Oh, yeah. He was right around that Mike LaValliere, Tony Pena era.
And during a minor league game, he played for a short time at the big league level. Better catcher than he was a hitter, but came in after a game. And he was throwing stuff around. He was so mad, and he said, I gave up 3 runs today.
And he's the catcher.
And he was just furious. He said, I can't give up 3 runs to that team. And it's like, well, he's the catcher. You didn't, but he did, and he felt like he did. And I thought that was that was being a teammate to me.
So what you're talking about is a catcher that you know you fully trust that he's got your back in best interest.
And he's as invested in it as you are.
Right. Can't say that about all of them. That's definitely true. Chance to do some damage here. The 2-0 pitch.
Pitcher's pitch.
Carpenter has walked tonight. He's also flied out to right. He'll play behind Adam Wainwright with Carpenter at the plate. That's Hernan Perez. And the 2-1 pitch to Matt Carpenter. Bunting, a beauty. And Anderson gets Carpenter. Advancing on the play. It's Wainwright to second base, and it brings in Colton Wong, who is 0 for 2.
I think Matt was thinking base hit there. He wasn't thinking sacrifice. He just didn't get it down the third base line, so he got the plan B worked. But Anderson does a nice job of fielding his position. And by the way, pitchers who can do this are going to be at a premium with the shifts. You think about guys off the third baseline. If Anderson doesn't get that ball, there's nobody else there to get it. And think about some pitchers in this league. Matt Garza with these Brewers, he's got no chance to make that play because he has some issues throwing. Outstanding pitcher, but that's not his thing, fielding bunts.
I think over time, as more and more teams in the minor leagues, even at the college level, shift, there'll be adjustment in the game.
No question.
0-2 the count on Colton Wong. I had a scout tell me on the road trip he feels teams may shift their philosophy because of the shift to, hey, if a guy doesn't have great range, we don't care. If he can hit, and I mean hit for power, we'll put him in a position to field. It was interesting.
I think I could make a case for the opposite. I mean, it's an interesting thought. I could make a case for the opposite. If you've got a third baseman now like VR, who's so far off the third base bag, you better hope that he's got some athleticism.
Absolutely.
Because look at all that ground he's got to cover. So, yeah, you're shifting. Maybe that's not true for GENNETT right now on the right side, but it sure is true for VR on the left side.
Here's a 1-2. Wong with a high fly ball lifted into right. Wainwright is your runner at second base, and he'll stay put at the bag. And with that, there's 2 outs. Last night it was Stephen Piscotty, an opposite field home run into the Cardinals bullpen for his 21st. As the Cardinals hit a pair of 2-run homers, that would be the difference in the game. So Torres have been getting loose. That'll be it for Anderson, who'll go 5 2/3. Torres will face Piscotty. Our Chevy call to the pen when we come back.
Pitcher for Milwaukee, having a very good season. ERA under 3, 63 appearances for Torres. We've seen with the Mets as well. 1-0 game. We are in the bottom of the 6th, couple of outs, and Wainwright aboard. He led off with a walk. Carpenter sacrificed him to second, trying to bunt for a base hit. Colton Wong flies out to right. Now it's up to Piscotty, who leads the Cardinals with 141 hits. Dan,
why do you think that he makes this move here?
Well, I think he trusts Torres, and I think he has learned over the course of a season to think that you don't want to go too long with Anderson.
Yeah.
Been conditioned to think that way. I also think, frankly, when you're managing a team in September and your team is where they are, it is an entirely different feel. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's different. You'd say they're more relaxed. That's the positive, but they're also, he's thinking about developing guys. He wants to look at guys in his bullpen. He's got 12 guys out there. It's halfway between a spring training game and a regular season game. He wants to win, no question about it.
0-2 the count with 2 outs. Biscotti is struck out and also fly to left. And he struck him out. 3 pitches struck him out. We enter the 7th, and it's 1-0 Milwaukee. Are the lives of men and women lost in the line of duty since September 11th. Over 7,000 flags represented on Art Hill here in St. Louis. We were in Milwaukee when 9/11 hit. Cardinals were playing the Brewers. It's a day that obviously all of us remember where we were at when that happened. And then at the time in the morning, I remember, waking up, you turn on your TV and you hear about it, your phone's ringing and people tell you turn on your TV, and the discussion for about, I'd say, 5 or 10 minutes with those of us in the traveling party was whether or not we would play. No one knew what was going on.
Right.
And then once the day unfolded, we obviously knew that baseball would be shut down. It was shut down for, I guess, a week or so. And flights then were canceled across the country. Many of us were getting the final rental cars in Milwaukee, trying to drive back home to St. Louis to be with our loved ones.
Mentioned yesterday, Mike Matheny was on a fishing boat with Bob Uecker that morning. That's where he was.
Were you with us at that time?
I was not. I was in Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
About 5 miles from the Pentagon, visiting some of the Cardinal minor league teams at the time.
Cardinals, one of the first games back to the schedule. A poem written and then performed by Jack Buck as we came back to play baseball. And the Hall of Famer Mike Piazza with one of the most historic home runs, I think, in baseball history. It wasn't a milestone for him, but it was a game back at Shea, and a dramatic come from behind victory against the then arch rival Atlanta Braves. And so many have talked about how that was uplifting for the city. Many of the first responders that had passed away, their families were at the ballpark with their families, and meaning their children, and just so emotional that night when we came back to play baseball. 2-2 the count. We are in the top of the 7th. Have you been to the 9/11 area since then? And
I have
been through the
times.
museum.
Yes,
it's unbelievable. The 2-2, fastball taken high.
Well, it's just such a poignant memory in light of the special moment today, in case folks missed it, where we had Keith House, who's a injured serviceman here at the ballpark, and he was given a home after throwing out the first pitch. A big surprise to him, and the crowd thoroughly enjoyed that moment. I think the crowd's enjoying this game too. 1-0 game, a really crisp game. I was thinking, Dan, about this game relative to the first game of this series. There was a lot of talk about the Cardinals feeling like they were flat or they didn't come out well, but really it was not Jaime Garcia's best day, and he would be the first to stand there and say that. If the starting pitcher is not sharp, your team looks flat, period.
Off the glove of Wainwright, slows it down, and tough chance for Colton Wong. It'll be a base hit for Braun.
So I would say the Cardinals have looked sharp today, but they have no runs on 3 hits. And why does it have a different feel this game? Why does it have a more exciting feel to it? It's because Wainwright has been sharp. Good effort by Colton Wong, who's made a lot of spectacular plays. This was a tough one. Do or die. Base hit. This guy's been hard to get out. You know, they took him off the roster last September, told him we might have a job for you next year. We don't know.
Peralta, nice play. Double play. Yes.
Wainwright gets the ground ball. It's hit hard. Good backhand by Peralta. The quick hands and turn of Colton Wong. Good picture of Peralta seeing that ball all the way into the glove, and the glove have a little give to it. If you're pushing too much forward, you're going to perhaps cause the ball to pop out. You have to have smooth hands, soft hands.
And a base hit out to left by Domingo Santana. What's on tap is presented by Budweiser. Zach Davies and Luke Weaver. And our coverage kicks off at 12:30.
So I mentioned, Dan, the difference in the clubhouse is when your team is 27 games out, or 28 almost, I guess 27.5 games out, the Brewers, and the Cardinals are still hoping for Weaver and some of the other young players to drive them to the October baseball. If you're in the Brewers clubhouse, you're talking about, well, where are you going this offseason? What are you thinking about doing? Well, I don't know. And you're making plans. You're thinking about trips. You're thinking about arrangements to move your stuff from your apartment in Milwaukee back home to wherever that may be. And you are divided. You can't help but to have divided attention in September baseball when you're out of it. It's a very different feel in the clubhouse. Am I going to be on the roster still? Are they going to trade me? Very difficult for a manager to keep his team together.
Well, right now the pitch count for Wainwright is only at 78. And his spot is not due up for quite a while in this lineup. He has been very good here tonight. Sharp breaking ball, 1-2. Only mistake he made was Keon Broxton, the man at the plate, solo home run back in inning number 5. ARCIA in the driver's seat. Most home runs in September. This has been a very good offensive club. Cardinals catching Milwaukee really at the wrong time. This is a hot club.
6-2 in September, as we mentioned. Power has been part of that, but certainly speed has.
1-2 pitch, misses outside. Big gap in left center. And the 2-2 pitch. Just missed. So at the 3-2, Santana off with the pitch. Runner at first base. Brewers have out hit the Cardinals 5-3. 3-2. And he walked him. A pretty incredible story that involves Adam Wainwright in 9/11. September 10th of 2001, Adam was supposed to meet his financial advisor. He became unavailable, so an assistant gave Adam, and his brother was with him, a tour of the financial district that included a stop on the stock exchange's trading floor. They touched the World Trade Center, literally touched it. The next day, they were supposed to have a breakfast at Windows on the World, the restaurant atop the World Trade Center. That was canceled. Incredible. 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 Baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile, and a look at the American League division leaders. Very tight race in the East. Cleveland a 6-game lead, Texas a 9-game lead, and very tight with Detroit and those leaders in the East. And so there's a lot of baseball left to be played. This is our Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. Cardinals out hit 5-3. They trail 1-0 here in the bottom of the 7th. San Francisco has jumped out to a 5-0 lead in their ball game, top of the 3rd. Mets lead 3-2 in the bottom of the 6th. Moss is 0 for 2. Just tell he's a little in between right now, but one swing could change it. 17th sellout of the season tonight. Crowd of 45,440. 45440.
Good view of Brandon Moss and the velocity of Torres. He's being a little late on those fastballs, and again he's been ahead of the changeup. That's what we talk about, being in between. You see how little time he has to react, and he has to see right out of the pitcher's hand, is it a changeup, fastball, breaking pitch, and adjust to it. And when a hitter's right, they have a sixth sense about it, and when they're off, they just don't see it out of the hand, and they're late.
Chase the pitch up and strikes out.
That pitch looked like it was 150 miles an hour to Brandon Moss.
Yeah. So Torres has come in and struck out 2. It's a pretty amazing story about Adam Wainwright, 9/11, isn't it? And I know we were talking about Tito Landrum earlier. There's a ground ball that's backhanded by Perez, but things could have been different for him as well.
Yeah, Tito worked it as a fitness trainer at the time and had appointments in the Twin Towers, but he was actually at a dentist appointment that morning, so he would have been there otherwise. Not too far from the scene, and good to see Tito again here in town. Interestingly, again on September 11th at Whitey's charity dinner tomorrow night, Forest Hills, and then the golf tournament to follow the next day. And Whitey, by the way, does great work in St. Louis, building fields. He's working on them year after year, developing fields to help communities that need the help. And Whitey loves baseball still. We see him at the ballpark all the time, and we know his era has gone, and Cardinal baseball is what we see today, but it was an era still worth celebrating.
Whitey, in many ways, revitalized baseball here in St. Louis after an era in the 70s that saw good individuals, just teams that couldn't get over the hump to get into the playoffs. And the brand of baseball that those teams played energized this fan base. I asked Whitey about his proudest accomplishment, and he said every year, no matter where he was at, Kansas City or St. Louis, average attendance would go up. High fly ball. Right center. Broxton with room.
Cardinals have had a few of those.
1-0 Milwaukee. And here it is, a starter pitching into the 8th in September. You don't see that very often anymore.
You don't.
But why not? Wainwright has been sensational here tonight.
He's deserved it.
Only 5 hits allowed. A KEON BROXTON solo home run in the 5th, the difference.
I think when a starting pitcher gets deep into a game in September, it's because the manager looks out there and says, that's the guy I'd rather have out there than anybody else. You start thinking about your bullpen guys, and Wainwright's been so sharp. I mean, what choice, who would you rather have out there right now? There's sometimes that decision's not quite as clear as it is here because he is so on top of things.
Here's a 2-0 pitch just to finish that story about Wainwright and 9/11. So he and his brother wind up taking a taxi to the airport after the meeting was canceled rather than stick around in Manhattan that night, and they drive to Cooperstown to go check out the Hall of Fame, and they drove all the way from Cooperstown back to Atlanta. Pretty incredible story. Leadoff walk, and we'll see a pinch hitter. We'll see a pinch runner here. Yadiel Rivera will be the pinch runner. Check that. Rivera, I believe, will be the hitter, and Jake Elmore is your runner. So Rivera at the plate, pinch hitting for Torres. Scoreless inning in a 3rd. See Peralta very close to the line and charging. With a situation like this in the game last night, we talked about where you want to place the bunt. Wound up being bunted in the air and turned into a double play as Molina wants to talk with Wainwright.
We can't afford to be on different signals right here. All the infielders are going to come in and make sure that everybody's on the same page in terms of how they're going to defend things and what they expect the Brewers to do. We haven't had many games where a 1-0 score seems like a big lead, but that's kind of how it feels now. Another run seems like a big deal. It just does.
Elmore, your runner at first. Rivera squares to bunt and pushed it foul. So the Cardinals half game back of the Mets. That second wild card, Mets half game back of San Francisco, and the Giants and New York. At one point tonight, both were leading their games, and now we check and see that Atlanta has tied up their game with the Mets 3-3. 1 ball, 1 strike. The bunt is down. Wainwright reaching for it, gets the out. Elmore advancing to second base, and there's 1 down.
Adam Wainwright very sharp here tonight. He's had a good mixture. He's used his fastball well. He spotted his pitches. Stayed out of the middle of the plate. Has also had help on the defensive side, particularly Colton Wong. Here's Johnny Peralta starting a 5-4-3 double play. Adam, low pitch count. Last 2 times against the Brewers, only 8 hits in 14+ innings and a run in each game, despite trailing in this one. Also, the strikeout walk ratio, very good.
Here's Jonathan VR. 2 ground outs and a strikeout, 0 for 3, and takes a pitch a little bit high.
Boy, I'd be tempted to be very careful with VR.
First base open. You can afford to do that. On deck, Scooter Gennett. Matt Bowman throwing in the Cardinals pen. 2 balls, no strikes. Some of these pitches starting to get up a little bit too.
I think Yachty's going to have a conversation here. What do we want to do? It's 2-0. This guy's swinging the bat. I'm not in on this conversation, but I think it has to do with the situation with first base open and which way should we go. And I can almost see Yachty looking over at first base in the midst of that conversation, looking off to the side, and just think they're going to be very careful. Yachty's signaling to the dugout right now. There's a few different signs going on that mean something to Mike Matheny and to Adam Wainwright about how they're pitching VR 2-0. And he is way off the plate right now. On
3-0.
And that's Yachty's leadership again. I think it's the right thing to do. See if you can get VR to chase. I don't think he will, but Yachty gave a sign like around the plate with both hands. And he's going to be around the plate again.
So walk. Wainwright is walked 3. 2 in this inning. Runners at first and second. And Scooter Gennett will be the hitter. He's grounded to second. Flied out to shallow center and popped out into foul territory.
And Dan, you know the risk late in games of putting extra guys on base. An extra base hit means more runs. It means a bigger hill to climb. But the Cardinals banking on a double play, hoping for a double play with Gennett.
Curveball, a beauty. Strike 1. Wainwright and Molina, these two, this combination, have seen each other the most in Cardinals history. Pitcher catcher. The 0-1. What's pretty incredible to think about that. Both here mid 2000s. Yachty came up 04. Briefly Wainwright in 05 made his mark in 06. And this battery recently passed the combination of Tim McCarver and Bob Gibson. 100+ years of baseball, and these two have been together the most in terms of battery mates. Pulled foul. 1-2.
And with that experience comes a understanding of tendencies. And Yachty wanting to pitch around VR has a lot to do with his confidence in Wainwright of being able to handle that situation, and even how he communicates what they're going to do. And really, that was a decision that came from Yachty. That wasn't from the bench. That was Yachty.
Just got a piece.
Boy, how did he tip that ball?
Here's a 1-2. Into center field, base hit. And they'll test Grichuk. Throw to the plate. Oh yeah, he got him. I don't know about you. I am shocked they sent the runner.
I'm more shocked that he didn't score. If that's their fastest pinch runner, there's the throw. A bloop hit the center field. He's out by 5 feet. He must not have read this well, and he didn't. That was the problem. I mean, you got to score on an easy hit to center field, and he's not even close to scoring. That's a break for the Cardinals, but a break that is born out of a very good throw by Randal Grichuk.
I'm not sure if he was pointing to the bag to stay at third, the third base coach of the Brewers, because he didn't have the emphatic wave around as if to say go, go, go.
Well, he's normally the opposite. He's normally very conservative as a third base coach. We saw that in Milwaukee. And I just think that was the runner getting a bad jump, and he never really got his feet under him.
Now here's another situation with first base open. Do you want to pitch to Ryan Braun, or do you say we'll take the chance, load him up, and go after Perez or a pinch hitter?
I have great respect for Ryan Braun as a hitter, but I don't want to pitch to Hernan Perez right now. I mean, it's not just what you've done in the last 10 years. It's what have you done in the last 3 days. There's the base hit. Now he should be moving, and he just reads that poorly. And I'm not sure whether he's telling him to stay there or to go. And again, what he's pointing and what he's saying could be two different things. He could be pointing and trying to deke Randal Grichuk into thinking he's not sending him, and he could be saying go, go, go. We learned that from Jose Oquendo and Albert Pujols. Fans were upset because they said Pujols keeps running through stop signs. And Oquendo said he never ran through a stop sign. I was giving him a stop sign and telling him to go to try to deke the outfielder.
I was wrong then at least a minimum of 50 times. He ran through the stop sign. What a safe.
But that's what it looked like.
I know. He did it all the time. So they're going to walk Braun here. Bases are loaded. Full of Brewers. And this might be your ball game right here. Perez 0 for 5 this year with the bases loaded. First pitch, a ball.
Perez is 1 for 3 today, but he's 7 for 12 in the series. And he's locked in.
Here's a 1-0. 2 balls, no strikes. Hit foul. 2-1. Very efficient tonight, Adam Wainwright. Pitch count though at 107. Two and two. This crowd of 45,000 plus ready to make some noise. The 2-2. Got him on the outside corner. The biggest strikeout of the night for Wainwright. A little help from his defense. And Perez has been ejected along the way. The bases, fell behind 2-0 to Perez, and comes back to strike him out looking. And with all that, then Perez ejected. What a moment.
Really loud here at Busch Stadium, and you hope that that momentum can carry the Cardinals into the bottom of the 8th inning. Peralta will lead it off, followed by Grichuk, and then Wainwright's spot. What a moment for Wainwright. I wasn't sure I was thrilled with the idea of walking Ryan Braun to face Hernan Perez, who has understood the strike zone pretty well, including that last pitch, which was not a strike. It was out of the zone. It went Wainwright's way. Still a good pitch, tough pitch to take with 2 strikes. Perez gets tossed, which I'm also happy about. But Wainwright gets through 8.
Corey Knebel is the new pitcher. Chris Carter takes over at first. Rivera stays in the game at second base. And Martin Maldonado is the new catcher for Milwaukee. The Cardinals have Peralta, Grichuk, and Wainwright's spot coming up. Bottom of the 8th, 1-0 Milwaukee. A moment like that can potentially jumpstart an offense. Two 2-0.
Let's just say the crowd is primed.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Peralta deep in the hole, it's short. Long throw, and he beat it out. Tying run is aboard. Go-ahead run comes to the plate.
And ARCIA and the Brewers got a break that ball did not go into the Cardinals dugout. Tommy Pham's going to pinch run for Peralta. That was very nearly into the Cardinals dugout and would have been an extra base.
So Tommy Pham, your pinch runner. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Cardinals. And without the express written consent of this Cardinals broadcast, you make sure you just keep it with us. New disclaimer.
I get it. Don't disseminate it.
You got it.
Without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Or something like that.
You got it.
This one might be worth disseminating. But don't do it.
Grichuk, line drive, right center. That ball is down. Pham on his way to third. Randall Grichuk extends his hitting streak to 9.
I thought that ball might hang up a bit. Pham knew it was going to be down. He takes second and rounds for third on a ball that plugs the right center field gap. That was a terrible route by the right fielder, Santana, who was backing up a play that maybe is a ball he should have tried to catch.
This big crowd ready to erupt. Big city at the plate, looking for a big moment. Adams grounds it softly to second. This game is tied. Pham scores. It's 1-1.
In some ways, Matt Adams may have wanted more, but that's plenty. Get the ball on the ground, get the run in, get the go-ahead run, potential winning run at third in Grichuk, and let Carpenter do the rest.
The batter will be Carpenter. The infield is drawn in for Milwaukee. The pitch around Matt Carpenter. Colton Wong, the man on deck, who is hitless tonight in 3 plate appearances. Juan Marinez, who's pitched in both games of this series, getting loose for Milwaukee in their bullpen.
Well, Knebel has been their 8th inning pitcher. Torres 7th, Knebel 8th, Tyler Thornburg in the 9th. So this is their guy right now.
Peralta the infield hit. Grichuk a double to right center. Adams the ground out to score the run and advance both runners. One to the plate, the other to third. The intentional walk to Carpenter, and now Colton Wong.
One thing that this enables the Milwaukee Brewers to do defensively is put the infield back again. And yeah, you don't want to pitch to Carpenter. That's certainly a important point. Don't let him beat you. He's an all-star. Let Colton Wong try to do it. But it also makes the defense better by having them back playing for a double play. Colton Wong has hit 3 fly balls in this game. A 4th one would be fine, as long as it's deep enough.
League average these spots 50% for Colton Wong. 6 out of 13 times, 46%. Rick, do you even think about the potential of a bunt?
I think you think about it, but I think you drive the ball to the outfield. It's just as easy to do.
Brewers might have been thinking the same thing.
Bunt certainly puts pressure on the defense. You're talking about a safety squeeze as opposed to a suicide squeeze.
Runners at first and third. One out. And the pitch to Kolten Wong. Strike one.
You know, I'd say yes, Dan. If I thought bunting was more of a sure thing than it is in today's game, I think you have a better chance of hitting the fly ball to the outfield than you do to have a perfectly executed bunt. I mean, bunts are just popped up a lot. They're bunted back to the pitcher, and then you feel like you've wasted your at bat. I say let him swing.
So middle infield back just a bit. Corners are in as they hold also at first. And the 1-0 pitch to Kolten Wong on its way. 1 ball, 1 strike. Piscotty is on deck.
Rough moment for Randal Grichuk in this series, getting picked off at second base. That can't happen here. Maldonado back behind the plate. He's the guy that did it.
The 1-1. A breaking ball. Taken for a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Marlins' Jeff Francoeur singles with 2 outs in the 8th off of Joe Blanton. Breaks up a Dodgers combined perfect game. Perfect game. Here's a 1-2 to Kolten Wong. Out of play.
It's a good moment here. This would be a big moment for Kolten Wong if he can come through. The defense has been stellar in this series.
It's another 1-2 pitch to Kolten Wong. Here she comes. Wong, bouncer, right side, base hit. Cardinals go on top. Grichuk scores. 2-1 St. Louis.
Love the react by Kolten Wong. Big moment for him. Done it with the bat and the glove. Cardinal fans were ready for this.
After the moment that Wainwright supplied with the bases loaded, the called third strike, just had the feeling the Cardinals had the momentum. And right now they do. 2-1 St. Louis. is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Brewed for those who go the extra mile. By Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. And taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today at Jack in the Box, limited time only at participating restaurants. Big moment for Colton Wong to come through. Runners at first and second for Stephen Piscotty. And with the lead now, Seung-Hwan Oh starts to throw in the Cardinals' pen, I believe, or is it Segrist? Yep, Kevin Segrist is throwing. Big gap in left center. And the 1-0 pitch. Little chopper left side and a foul ball.
Not by much. How foul was it?
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Piscotty drives it into left center field. All the way to the wall. 2 runs will score. Insurance for the Birds here in the 8th.
That's a huge add-on for the Cardinals, and it comes from a guy who has been their steady producer. He now has 80 RBIs on the season to lead the team. He leads the team in hits as well. And this is a big one into the gap. No chance for the speedy BROXTON to get to it. And I watched Colton Wong all the way around the base pass. He was trying to catch Matt Carpenter, and he very nearly did it at the plate and almost ran into the pitcher as well.
Now it's Moss. 4-1 St. Louis.
I believe
a shift now on for Moss.
I believe the Brewers do not want to reproduce or disseminate this inning.
Here's the 0-1.
Late scoring again, Dan, for the Cardinals.
There's something else. 7th inning or later, it's not even close in Major League Baseball. The difference of what St. Louis has done to the rest of the league. Matt Bowman joins Kevin Segrist in the Cardinals pen. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Inside. Top of the 8th, Mets and Atlanta tied at 3. San Francisco a 5-1 lead in the bottom of the 5th. The numbers on Martinez this season. Moss pops it up left side. It is playable. Monday pitch arsenal. Fastball slider from Martinez. That fastball is in the mid-90s. And here's Yadier Molina. 2 outs, runner at second. And strike one. Molina over 3 tonight. Couple of strikeouts and a ground out. Out of play.
The Wainwright pitch to Hernan Perez, a huge moment in this game. I'm not so sure that Perez getting tossed afterwards wasn't counterproductive for the Brewers either. Not just because they lost a good player, but this crowd just got into the game. It just fueled the Cardinals, in my mind, on the offensive side in the bottom half of the inning. Been a fun game.
The 0-2. Caught Maldonado. By the way, when Martin Maldonado made it to the big leagues, he got a pretty nice present from Yadier Molina. A car.
I hadn't heard that till today. Had you?
No.
I mean, present, you think, you know, sleeve of golf balls? But a car?
Up the middle, base hit. Here comes Piscotty. He will score. 5-1. Yanni delivers. Slam a bat down. Normally you're upset. Not this time.
Well, you think Yadi's still not playing with some emotion?
So 2 outs and now Jed Jerko. The Cardinals have exploded for 5 runs here in the bottom of the 8th. Oh, 2. The next 2, Jerko, and he struck him out. Huge inning for the Cardinals, in which games and innings down the stretch so important. There's certainly the emotion from Cold Wong. This crowd is fired up. They know Cardinals, rest of the teams in baseball, you're running out of time. So every game is, the importance is just magnified with every pitch. So with the Cardinals now with a 5-1 lead, Bowman is in. Chevy called to the pen. If it stayed 4-1, you'd probably see Segrist. First pitch, a strike to Domingo Santana.
Matt's had some rough outings lately. Be good to have him get back to where he was. He had a couple of games in a row where he stranded the bases loaded, which was really the high point of his season.
There's Greg Garcia, your new third baseman. Remember, Tommy Pham was the pinch runner for Peralta, and he got it started with an infield hit. And Pham stays in the game to play left field. This has been one of the more entertaining games of the season tonight. 0-2 pitch, and he struck him out.
Gets that outside corner or close enough. And again, you say entertaining game, and I look at the scoreboard and the Cardinals had 0 runs through 7 innings. So you can play entertaining baseball without it being 15-12. In fact, some of those games aren't quite so entertaining.
The high drama of some of those at bats that Wainwright dealt with throughout the game tonight. Fastball in there for a strike to Keon Broxton. The Cardinals have 10 wins this year when trailing after 7 innings. Most in Major League Baseball entering play tonight. Fly ball, left center, should be caught, and it is 2 away. Mike Matheny stuck with Adam Wainwright. The move paid off, and he is our Budweiser player of the game.
Terrific performance by Adam Wainwright. He deserved those extra innings. Just 1 run in 8 innings for Wainwright. In line for victory number 11.
Arcia, strike 1. The 0-1 pitch. Here's a 1-1 from Bowman. 1-2. The Brewers down to their final strike. 1-2 pitch by Bowman. Little tapper that's hit to short. Jerko. He got him. Win number 75. The Cardinals win it in dramatic fashion. Down 1-0. Going into the bottom of the 8th, they pick up 5, and they hold on for a 5-1 win.
And the Cardinals go to +9, a position they've been in many times this year without being able to get +10. Maybe the energy of this win, a terrific win, a great ball game, might get them going to that +10 and beyond. Really a well-played game. The Cardinals pick up a half a game on San Francisco and New York. And this thing, Danny, is getting fun.
Having some fun on a Saturday night here at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals pick up the win. And the post-game show comes your way next.